Audio Jungle.
What is happening, Southern California sports fans? This is your boy, Teran Rodriguez, bringing you another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. We have a lot to talk about today. The Los Angeles Lakers are in the NBA Finals, and they took Game 1 against the Miami Heat quite convincingly. Do they have enough in the tank for 3 more wins, or will the Heat have something to say? The Heat are a little beaten up right now, but we'll see. The Dodgers made quick work of the Milwaukee Brewers last night and the night before in the Wild Card Series and are off to the second round. Who will they be playing in the second round between the Padres and the Cardinals, and which matchup do they prefer? Also, the Padres had a little comeback magic within them last night against the St. Louis Cardinals. Do they have an encore performance tonight, or is this the end of the road? And the Rams and the Chargers, they both lost, but this week is a new week. Can both teams get back on track? Maybe. Possibly. All that and more here on the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. This is Teran Rodriguez bringing you another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And welcome one, welcome all to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Like I said, my name is Teran Rodriguez. Happy Friday to everybody. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all staying cool if you're dealing with the heat, whether it's in California or someplace else. But without any further delay, let's get on into this Southern California sports talk. And we won't be going too long today, just because I have some stuff to do. And also, fun fact, I'm going to Ventura with my brother later on this evening, so it's going to be a fun time. So I'm going to be leaving from Orange County to Los Angeles County, not too soon, but maybe in like 3 hours or so we'll see, but I digress on that. So let's shuffle things around first. Let's go with baseball first. First and foremost, the Angels didn't make the playoffs. So for those of you wondering if I'm ever going to be talking about the Angels this going forward, well, not this postseason. The Angels didn't make the playoffs. I said last week they had a chance, and unfortunately they blew it. They blew it. They needed to win all 3 games against the Dodgers, and they needed the Astros to lose all 3 games to the Rangers. And let's just say the Rangers fulfilled their end of the bargain, but the Angels didn't. They lost all 3 games to the Dodgers. They got swept in both freeway series. After sweeping the freeway series last year, the Dodgers paid them back. So unfortunately, we have to give the Angels a little proper send-off. Yes, game over, yeah. Unfortunately, that's the end of the Angels. We won't be talking about them unless they make national headlines. Speaking of national headlines, or headlines in general, the Angels actually fired Billy Epler. So I guess that's a good step in the right direction. Unfortunately, they still have to deal with Art Moreno, who still owns the team, and it's not going to get fully better until they focus on getting pitching instead of like second or third baseman. I mean, I'm not knocking them for getting Anthony Rendon and Dylan Bundy, but their pitching leaves so much to be desired. They did have some bright spots in Griffin Canning and Jaime Barrea, but that was about it. And the Angels need to realize that they can't just play the second half of the season, play great baseball in the second half of the season. They have to play great baseball the whole season. If they didn't have that bad stretch of baseball where they lost to the Giants, the Rangers. I want to say they also lost to the Astros and Mariners. I think they maybe make the playoffs. Like, they had so many crucial losses for them, cost them possibly a spot in the playoffs. So I'm not basing their season off of 1 or 2 games, but I am saying that when you lose to subpar teams like the Diamondbacks, the Rangers, the Giants, who, in their defense, they were also fighting for a playoff spot, and a few other teams that you should normally beat, you got to take advantage of that, and the Angels simply didn't. And it also didn't help that they had players going on the getting hurt, like Fletcher. I think Trout was on like paternity leave and for a little bit for the birth of his child, and then Ohtani got hurt, and he didn't prove himself as the pitcher that everyone wanted him to be. So it was just disappointing right there. It was very disappointing that the Angels had themselves a tough season. And keep in mind that this was an expanded playoff format. Like, you got to make the playoffs when it comes to this format. I mean, the entire AL West, for goodness sake, finished under 500, except for the Oakland Athletics, which are off to the second round, as well as the Astros. The Astros and the Athletics are off to the second round to face one another. This kind of makes me wonder, could the Angels have beaten the Twins in the first round had they made the playoffs instead of the Astros? My guess is probably, because the Twins don't have good pitching. Their pitching leaves a lot to be desired. So until next year, Angels, unless they make like big like headline news. So we'll see. So as for the teams that are the Southern California teams that are actually in the playoffs, the Dodgers swept away the Brewers, and boy did they get a performance from Clayton Kershaw last night. 13 strikeouts. That is a new postseason career high for Mr. Kershaw. Absolutely amazing. We got to hit the applause button for him real quick. So yeah, I definitely liked the performance from Kershaw, but I'll be a little bluntly honest. I think that Dodgers kind of got bailed out by something unfortunate that happened on the Brewers when it happened to the Brewers. So there was one out, and Austin Barnes was up to bat. Actually, no, it wasn't Austin Barnes. I want to say it was like Chris Taylor or Max Muncy. And then he grounds it to third, and then the third baseman gets Cody Bellinger out at third. And then the third baseman, which was Luis Urias, threw it to Jed Yorico. And it looked like Yorico was going to make the catch and get the double play to end the threat. However, Jed Yorico mishandles the ball, and I think it was either Muncy or Chris Taylor was safe, and that was kind of what started the whole thing. Because then Austin Barnes hit a single up the down center field, and eventually that scored a run from second. And then Mookie Betts, aka Mr. Moneybags, was able to knock in a 2-run RBI double, which really set the tone for the Dodgers. And that was all they needed. And then Clayton Kershaw was amazing. He pitched 8 straight innings. Like I said, he had 13 strikeouts. He only walked 1, and he didn't even give up any runs, which was cool. And the best part is that the Dodgers didn't really need Kenley Jansen. I think the Dodgers only gave up like 4 or 5 hits the whole game. So when their pitching is on like that, and when Clayton Kershaw is playing like that, that is when the Dodgers are mainly at their best. And you gotta respect Clayton Kershaw. You gotta put some respect on Kershaw's name, considering he's had an illustrious year, and he's a seasoned veteran. So good stuff for Mr. Clayton Kershaw and for the Dodgers. They are off to the second round, where they'll be playing in Arlington, Texas, against either the San Diego Padres or the St. Louis Cardinals, which is a good segue to talk about right now. So the Padres lost Game 1, which I'm not overly surprised, just because it's the Padres' first time back in the postseason since like forever. But then Game 2, the Padres are actually down 4-0 and 6-2, and then the Padres pulled a magical comeback out of their hats and won 11-9, forcing a Game 3, which is tonight at 7 p.m., and that game will probably be on ABC or ESPN, whichever of the two. I heard it was going to be on ABC, but that's probably the home of the NBA Finals, so I digress. But I did predict the Padres to win in 3. I also predicted the Dodgers to win in 2, so one prediction was right, and hopefully the second one is correct. I think the Padres can win tonight. I think the Padres got their bad game out of the way in Game 1, and I think they're gonna handle the Cardinals really well. I think the Cardinals are in for a rude awakening. I think the Cardinals woke up the beast, and more importantly, Fernando Tatis Jr. is finally getting his sea legs when it comes to the postseason, because he hit 2 home runs yesterday, and those really propelled the Padres to victory, because it was getting bad. I think they were down like 6-2 in the 6th inning, the bottom of the 6th inning, so that was big stuff right there. And then Will Myers really stepped up for the Padres as well. He hit 2 home runs as well, and same goes for Manny Machado, the former LA Dodger. So honestly, I think this Padres team has enough firepower to get into the second round, so I think that they have what it takes. And to me, I think the Padres take Game 3 and they'll be going into the second round. It would be a great thing, because to me personally, or from a Dodgers perspective, I think the Dodgers match up better against the Cardinals, but I don't think they should care who they get, because they're going to have, at this point, the postseason is a whole different animal. Like, you never know. The postseason is basically like a box of chocolates. You never know who you're going to get, and you never know which team you're going to get. Like, I thought the Brewers were actually going to put up more of a fight, and they kind of did. I was a little surprised to see the Dodgers only winning by 2 and 3 runs, but to me, I think the Dodgers and the Padres are destined to meet one another, just because I think that it's a nice little NL West rivalry, and that rivalry is definitely growing, especially since we're getting all these other rivalries like in the American League. So the only exception, actually no, we are getting all rivalries. Like the AL East got the rivalry between the Atlanta Braves and the Miami Marlins. The AL East got their rivalry in the Tampa Bay Rays and the New York Yankees, and then also we have the Houston Astros and the Oakland A's in the NL West. So apparently the Cardinals and the Padres are playing right now. So I also got to give a shout out to Adam Karnick in the chat room. So he asks, who is pitching tonight? So for the Padres, it's Craig Stammen for the Padres. As for the Cardinals have Jack Flaherty, and I believe he's a SoCal guy. I think he is from Southern California. I want to say Jack Flaherty went to Harvard Westlake or San Clemente. I'm pretty sure it was Harvard Westlake. So yeah, Harvard Westlake in Studio City. That is definitely Southern California. So yeah, I knew it was somewhere in Southern California. So good stuff that Jack Flaherty is going to be pitching for the Cardinals. But I gotta go for the Padres. I think the Padres have too much firepower, and I want to see fireworks in that second round between the Dodgers and the Padres. I think and it's also good because both those teams are Southern California teams, and that one team will be guaranteed to make the National League championship game. So that's another reason why I picked the Padres, just because SoCal versus SoCal. Sadly, a SoCal team will have to lose if the Padres and the Dodgers face one another, but we have to have a sacrifice. So it's either we get both teams in the next round facing one another, or we only get one team having to roll the dice and possibly make the World Series. So we'll see. We'll see. And I really just hope that, I think the Padres deserve something positive. They deserve, they got their playoff win, but now they got to go for more. They can't just chew off some of the chew off some of the fat from the turkey. They got to go for the whole thing. They got to stay hungry. So that's why I'm picking the Padres. So I think that's going to do it for the MLB portion of the show. I still think the Dodgers have a fair shot at making the World Series. My only fear is that their pitching could go awry at any time. But if their pitching is on like that, like it was last night and the night prior, I think the Dodgers can actually put it together. They can finally put it together. Because if not, then it's going to be another disappointment season. And who knows what could happen with Dave Roberts. So, yeah. So, alright. So now let's move on from the MLB portion of the show to the NBA portion of the show, where the Lakers dominated the Miami Heat in Game 1. The Heat just had no answer for the Lakers. Well, actually, early on, the Lakers fell behind. I think it was 23-10. And it looked like the Lakers were in for a long night. However, the Lakers turned the table and were able to just dominate in the second quarter and then just run away with it in the third quarter. And they only won by 18, but the final score does not depict how one-sided it was between the Lakers and the Heat. And it made it even more one-sided because the Heat will be without two of their primary players, being Bam Adebayo, their big man, and Goran Dragic, who is one of their veterans and who's their second leading scorer. So that's a tough blow for the Miami Heat. To me, I'd rather see the Heat play at full strength against the Lakers. But it is what it is. However, they're not ruled out for the whole series. I did see a source that said that Goran Dragic was going to be done for the whole finals, but I think that's false. I think whoever had that source is wrong, and that's nothing but fake news. So I think Goran Dragic will be ready hopefully ready for Game 3. Like, I don't see how. Because a plantar tear is not really good, and Bam Adebayo is out with a shoulder injury, so Lakers have a big advantage as of right now. But again, anything can happen, so we'll have to see going forward. Like, I think the Lakers can take Game 2, but even if they do take Game 2, the Lakers can't let their foot off the gas. Like, the Dallas Mavericks made that mistake back in 2006, I want to say, when they led 2-0 against the Miami Heat, and then the Heat won 4 straight, which was D-Wade's first ever NBA championship and Shaq's first ever NBA championship after he left the Los Angeles Lakers. So to me, I had the Lakers winning in 6. I kind of want to say Lakers in 5 now, but I'm still going to go with Lakers in 6, because you never know with the Miami Heat. They have some talented players. Like, Andre Iguodala looked solid. Tyler Hero was pretty solid. I think it was just the case of most of those players hadn't been in the NBA Finals, whereas players like LeBron James, Dwight Howard, JaVale McGee, Rajon Rondo especially, they've been in the Finals. So what the Lakers lack in overall depth, I mean, I think they're the deeper team between them and the Heat, but what they lack in depth between all the teams that made the playoffs in the playoff bubble, they make up for in like veteran leadership, experience, and height. And I think that's going to take the Lakers far, and I think that is one of the main reasons why I think the Lakers can win the NBA championship. It's still a long series, and they have to take it one game at a time, but tonight, I think this is the Lakers' night. I think they go up 2-0, and the Heat have to figure it out soon. Jimmy Butler says, we're winning, the Heat are winning tonight, but I don't know. Like, even he was pretty banged up, too. I think he hurt his ankle in Game 1 as well, so we'll have to keep an eye on him as well, and because the Heat are already without 2 of their better players, so now the Heat have to step up, and I think certain players did well. I think Kendrick Nunn played well in the absence of Goran Dragic, which was definitely helpful, and you kind of have to wonder, does Tyler Hero move into the starting 5? That's just some food for thought, in my opinion. So to me, I'm not sure, but it's up to Eric Spoelstra, so we'll see how it goes. And either way, I have the Lakers winning game Game 2 tonight, but I still expect the Lakers to win in 6. I don't think anything's going to come easy when it comes to this whole final series, even though the Heat are banged up. I think the Heat are going to come out a little bit more ready. I mean, I could see them trying to jump out early, but I could also see the Lakers counteracting the Heat when it comes to the Heat getting hot. So we'll have to see, but to me, and a big shout to Marcus Losgreat, who just jumped in the chat room. He says, "What up? What up? What up? What up? No," and he says the Lakers are going to sweep. You know, I get why people are saying that, because the Heat are banged up and the Lakers have LeBron and AD. Something's telling me it's not going to be a sweep. I normally just go with the Lakers in 6 just because it's safe. But I just think that this Miami Heat team is going to somewhat be a little bit more ready. Like they need to realize that basketball is a 4-quarter sport, not a 1-quarter sport. Matter of fact, a half a quarter sport, like a 6-minute sport. Like they won the first 6 minutes, and then the Lakers were like, "Wait, this isn't the plot. This isn't the plot that everyone wanted." So they just switched on the plot armor button and then said, "We're going to take over this movie." So, but if I had to change it, I'd say Lakers in 5. But I just think the Heat aren't going to go down without a fight, because the Heat didn't get this far just by folding. And to everyone now, this next part of the NBA segment was kind of something I need to address. The Lakers winning the championship will not have an asterisk by it. Okay, first and foremost, I get why people are saying that it should be an asterisk. Like, because it is a shortened season and it has different circumstances, but a championship is a championship. Like, if we're going to put an asterisk by the Lakers championship, why aren't we putting an asterisk by the Spurs championship in their shortened season? I think it was back in 1999, but still, like, why are we singling out the Lakers and their asterisking of the championship? And asterisking isn't a word, but I'm going to make it up today. So there should be no asterisk in front of any championship, because I think it's the exact opposite. The Lakers had to take down 3 really talented teams for the Western Conference, like the Trailblazers. Everyone was saying the Trailblazers were going to sweep the Lakers or not sweep the Lakers. One person thought that the Trailblazers were guaranteed to sweep the Lakers, and that person was Charles Barkley, but he's always wrong. And the Lakers beat a very talented Trailblazers team with Damian Lillard and many other talented players and whatnot. So I think, and I know Damian Lillard got hurt in Game 4, but injuries are part of the game. Like, LeBron and AD always get hurt, and every time they get hurt, everyone's got to hold their breath and be like, "Gosh darn it, why does this got to happen?" Because I think all of Lakers Twitter, whenever they see Anthony Davis hurt his ankle, is like, "Oh no, don't be hurt, AD." It's funny, yet it's truthful. Like, all of Lakers Twitter holds their breath when it comes to LeBron or AD getting hurt, including me. So I can't even like dodge that. But yeah, I think that. But yeah, injuries are part of the game, and it really sucks what happened with Damian Lillard. But with other players like C.J. McCollum, I think that still means that the Portland Trailblazers were a very good team. They're a very good team as well, and they have other talent. The Trailblazers have other talented players that I'm probably missing out on, but you all get what I'm saying. Like, there should be no asterisk, and the Rockets were pretty good as well. Like, the Rockets dominated the Lakers with their small ball play, and then the Lakers adapted, and then they fought fire with fire, small with small, etc., etc. You get what I'm saying. So to me, I think there shouldn't. And then you look at the Denver Nuggets. Denver Nuggets have Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic, Michael Porter Jr. You get what I'm trying to say, and they had to come back from 2 3-1 deficits to make their way to the Western Conference Finals. Like, everyone was picking the Clippers to win the Western Conference and the NBA Championship, and then they fell flat on their face against the Denver Nuggets, which I still can't believe that happened. And And speaking of the Clippers, one of the dedicated Clipper fans, Marcellus Wiley, kept tweeting asterisk. He tweeted a shouting emoji with an asterisk in front of it. Now, let me ask you all this. If the Clippers won the NBA, let's say the Clippers actually got past the Denver Nuggets and then made it to the Western Conference Finals to face the Lakers, and then they beat the Lakers and then they beat the Heat, or whoever made it out of the East, would anyone at all be saying the Clippers championship in 2020 should have an asterisk in front of it? Time's up. No. I honestly think no. There should be no asterisk no matter who wins it. Even if it's the freaking Sacramento Kings, there should be no asterisk. Like, I can't believe people are still thinking that. Like, I get the reason why for the Houston Astros, but honestly, not for this. Like, nobody predicted COVID-19 happening. Like, nobody. And nobody wanted the NBA to be postponed and all that. Like, it just so happened to be that the Lakers just were built for the bubble, and same with the Miami Heat. And another thing, if the Miami Heat win the NBA championship, are people going to say their championship has an asterisk in front of it? I don't think so. So people need to lay off this whole asterisk baloney sausage, because it's starting to bug me. It really is. It's like, stop with the whole asterisk thing. Like, the Tampa Bay Lightning's Stanley Cup isn't going to have an asterisk in front of it. There's going to be no asterisk in front of anything unless there was actual cheating. Just my take. Just my thing. And Adam Karnick agrees. He says, no asterisk. The leg made the best out of a horrible deal. Facts, Adam. Facts. A+ for you today. So, I totally agree. Like, again, would we rather just postpone the season and then have everyone waste the whole year of what happened? I don't think so. So, to me, I think the league has done everything they possibly can to give everyone a fair shot at winning the NBA championship. There's no home court advantage. I don't know why people are making a huge deal over an asterisk, especially for like the Lakers. It's like it's not the Lakers. It's not the Lakers' fault they managed to actually solve the Denver Nuggets in Game 5 after they were up 3-1. It's not the Lakers' fault the Clippers blew a 3-1 lead. It's not the Lakers' fault that they actually adapted to their gameplay against the Rockets and the Blazers. Like, what are the Lakers supposed to do when it comes to losing Game 1? Just lie down and say, oh, here, you could just have the rest of the series. We don't need the championship. No. Like, LeBron was not having it, and I'm liking what LeBron is doing. Like, there were reports saying that LeBron James was up at like 4 a.m., 4:30 a.m. watching film of Game 1, and that just goes to show you how adamant he is. And if you all saw the Western Conference championship ceremony, LeBron was on the ground because he knew he was not satisfied with winning the Western Conference. He wants to win it all. He wants to win number 4 for himself and number 17 for the Lakers. Mission 17 is not quite complete. They only need 3 more wins. So that's just my little 2 cents. And LeBron is adamant, and same with Rajon Rondo. Like, Rajon Rondo's on the climax of his playing career, and Anthony Davis wants his first ring. It's his first ever NBA Finals, and then all these other players like JaVale McGee wants another ring. Dwight Howard wants the elusive ring after not being able to win one with the Orlando Magic and the Houston Rockets and the Lakers. He didn't even get out of the first round with the Lakers, and I don't think he got out of the first round with the Rockets as well. So to me, I think it's. And then also, the big factor is that the Lakers are winning the championship for Kobe. Like, they want to win the championship for Kobe because Kobe impacted them in some sort of way. Like, he impacted Dwight Howard, and even Dwight Howard admitted that when he was called soft by Kobe, it turned him around and it made him a more mature person, because this is a non-guaranteed deal when it comes to Dwight Howard signing this year. Like, after this year, it's no guarantee that he'll come back. So he's got to make the best of this 1 year. Otherwise, he might not get another chance at winning a championship. So, and he's done phenomenally well. I think Dwight Howard is the unsung hero, and especially for Frank Vogel, who started him. Like, Frank Vogel can attest to this, that Dwight has definitely been improved, and he's definitely proven his worth. I feel for Howard because he was the former number 1 pick, and he's bounced around from team to team, which included the Lakers at one point, and now he's back with the Lakers, and I think he's more matured. I think now, after that little brief stint with the Lakers prior, and with bouncing around from team to team, it kind of opened his eyes and made him more mature. And sometimes I think a little change of scenery happens. Also helps that they didn't have Mike D'Antoni, a.k.a. No D D'Antoni. So good on Dwight Howard. I'm happy that he's turning it around for himself and for the Lakers. And I think this whole Laker team is still motivated. They're motivated, and in about 1 hour and 27 minutes, we'll see if the Lakers can take Game 2 in a 2-0 lead. But as Kobe Bryant said, and these are the famous words from the late, great Kobe Bryant, that everyone should always, always take note of. So,
still waiting for a big smile out of you. You're up 2-0. What's the story? Are you not happy, or you're only half happy, or?
Still to be happy about.
You're up 2-0.
Job's not finished. Job finished? No, I don't think so.
Okay.
And that's what we're probably going to be seeing a lot of if the Lakers win, which I really do think they can win tonight. I'd be shocked if the depleted Miami Heat were to have gotten the win. Like, the only way the Lakers get beaten is if they beat themselves, which I don't think they can do because, again, they're disciplined. Like, whenever they're down or whenever they lose, they always look at their mistakes and they always adapt to what they need to do next. Like I said, with the Portland Trail Blazers and the Houston Rockets and eventually the Denver Nuggets and now the Heat. And especially in Game 1, it was evident in Game 1. Lakers fell behind, kind of got the finals jitters because some of their players hadn't been to the NBA Finals, unlike a majority of Miami's team. Like, when it comes to Miami, they have two people in their organization, well, 3 people in their organization that have been to the NBA Finals. Pat Riley as a player and a coach, Eric Spoelstra as a coach, and also I guess he was like a tech guy for the Heat at one point, and then Andre Iguodala, who is making his 6th straight NBA Finals appearance, which is pretty amazing. Like, the other 5 were with the Golden State Warriors, which, Dub City, obviously. But still, that is still impressive stuff with Iguodala. And I think one of those finals, he was named the Finals MVP, which I think that makes it a testament for him, considering Iguodala is an on-ball defender. Like, he's there to, like, play some tough, hard-nosed, gritty defense. And to me, I think the fact that he's still up there in age, but he's still balling out and he's still, like, defending like he is right now, being hard-nosed and tough and possibly noteworthy of an All-NBA defense award is just amazing. So I just think that the Lakers they still need to be careful. Like, they're up 1-0, but Game 2, anything can happen, especially when you're in the bubble. And when it comes to 2020, anything can happen. Anything can happen, especially in the bubble, because sometimes you have nights where you're not built for the bubble, and sometimes you have nights where you're built. Like, take the Milwaukee Bucks, for example. Everyone was raving about them to being in the NBA Finals and to finally do something. And then they got exposed by the Miami Heat because the Heat were playing on a whole different level. And sure, the Bucks were kind of hosed by the refs a little, and then losing Giannis didn't make matters better. But honestly, I just think that they weren't ready to play in the bubble. I don't think they were ready to play in Orlando. That's what I think. I think if they had been back at the Bradley Center or wherever Milwaukee plays at in terms of their gymnasium, I'll forever call it by these old school names, like the Bradley Center or the Air Canada Center or the Pepsi Center or anything like that. So I'll probably just call it by their old school name. But anyway, I think if the Bucks had actual home court advantage, maybe they'd have a better shot making the NBA Finals. Just my take. But But back to the Heat and the Lakers. I just think the Lakers are on a mission, and they are not taking their eyes off the prize. So this actually begs me to ask who the Finals MVP will be between the Lakers. Who will be the Finals MVP if the Lakers win? Like, you have so many good candidates, like LeBron James for one, Anthony Davis as another, Rajon Rondo as an unsung hero. Heck, even Alex Caruso could be Finals MVP. If it's decided by the fans, they're obviously going to be voting Caruso. So we'll have to see. But any one of those players can win Finals MVP. Again, but first you have to win the NBA Finals. You can't just hopefully get the Finals. So you can't just finish runner-up and then be the Finals MVP. I don't think that's how it works. So we'll see. But I digress on that. So again, I think Marcus says Caruso really. Well, it's 2020. Anything can happen, and you never know. Again, if it's decided by the fans, Caruso's like the fan favorite. I don't know why people love Caruso so much, but maybe it's just I just don't know why people love Caruso so much. And then and Marcus says MVP is two people, LeBron James or AD. Yeah, I would pretty much say that. LeBron has just been amazing, and same with Anthony Davis. I guess you can. I mean, if you had to make a case for a third banana, it would probably be Rondo, just because he missed most of the bubble time and the first round of the bubble playoffs, and the fact that he had to work his way back and prove all his doubters wrong, that he is playoff Rondo. The actual playoff Rondo, not this whole playoff P or playoff Paul George or anything like that. He is the actual playoff Rondo. He earned the nickname playoff Rondo. It's not like Paul George giving himself that name playoff P. Like Marcus said it last week, I don't want anyone to ever say that Paul George should be known as playoff P. No. So yeah, but I totally agree, Marcus. I think Finals MVP is going to be down to LeBron or AD. Can't they just share it? They just take half of the MVP award. Just my take. It's tough to make the argument. Anthony Davis is Mr. Double-Double, and LeBron is Mr. 30-some-year-old who looks like he's 23 again. So, and he's practically averaging a triple-double in the finals. So, we'll have to see, but you could definitely make the argument for either one. It could even actually go down to the fan votes between those two. So, we'll see. We shall see. But I think that's going to wrap it up for the NBA portion of this segment. I think I've pretty much touched upon a majority of the NBA part, and yeah. So now let's head over to the NFL, where the Los Angeles Rams and the Los Angeles Chargers both lost. Yeah, first let's talk about the Chargers, because first of all, I'm very irked at how they lost. I'm not mad because they lost. I'm irked at how they lost. They had 3 turnovers in the first half, and they had 60 yards in penalties, and they accumulated 8 penalties overall. So, to me, I think that was... And it was to a Panthers team whose defense was basically wet cardboard. It was just unbelievable. And also the Panthers didn't have Christian McCaffrey. And the Panthers defense is young and rebuilding. So the Chargers defense was also missing a few key pieces like Melvin Ingram, Justin Jones. Chris Harris actually got hurt in that game, so now he's out for quite a bit. And again, they're without Derwin James and Drew Tranquill. Derwin James was out in the preseason, and then Drew Tranquill broke his leg in Game 1 against the Bengals and is out for the year. And yeah, it's just a tough time for the Chargers. Like when it comes to them to me is like an on paper team. They're good on paper, but when it comes to games, everything just goes awry for them, and that's the sad reality. I think they're just cursed. Just my take, but To me, I think the Chargers definitely could have beaten the Panthers. Again, it doesn't help that Herbert threw a pick and fumbled the ball. I want to say it was also, it was Keenan Allen or Josh Kelly that fumbled the ball as well. So that doesn't help matters as much. And the good thing is that their red zone defense was pretty good, except for one part. And it was in the second quarter. and Marcus says the coach is going to get fired. I can't agree. I couldn't agree with that more. I think Anthony Lynn is going to get fired, and especially I just don't see how Anthony Lynn is not skating on thin ice. But I think the Chargers might have extended him. I want to say they gave him like a mini extension. I'm not entirely sure. Don't quote me on that, but I don't know. But I could see them firing Anthony Lynn if they continue to woefully underachieve, because this Chargers team has too much talent to be playing this bad. If they had lost with Christian McCaffrey playing, I wouldn't be overly disappointed, just because Christian McCaffrey is a freaking wrecking ball, dude. But without Christian McCaffrey, But back to the red zone defense. The Chargers' red zone defense wasn't bad. They only got one touchdown out of it, but that one touchdown came at a very inconvenient time, and that was because it was in the second quarter. I think it was near the midway point and the Chargers held the Carolina Panthers to a field goal, and then it made the score 9-7 instead of after the Panthers were down 7-6. But then the Chargers got called for illegal formation, which gave them a 5-yard penalty, which gave the Panthers a first down, and on the next play, the Panthers got a touchdown from Teddy Bridgewater to, I don't remember the guy's first name, but it was Davis. His last name was Davis. I think it was like a 22-yard touchdown pass from Teddy Bridgewater, and it was just so disappointing. It's like, how do you get called for illegal formation? How are you going to do that, dude? Because without that touchdown, the Panthers have a whopping 18 points, all of which came from field goals. And now we fast forward to the final part of the game where Justin Herbert has to take the Chargers from the 1-yard line, the Chargers 1-yard line, all the way to the goal line. And keep in mind the Chargers are down 5, whereas if they were down 2, they would only have to kick a field goal, and I kind of would trust Michael Badgley to take that field goal. So yeah, they had to go for 6. They had to get 6 out of it, otherwise they lose. And pretty much the last play of the game, Justin Herbert threw a pass to Keenan Allen, who tried to lateral it to Austin Eckler, and it was a good lateral too. Problem was that Austin Eckler was just not ready for it, and that was it. To me, I don't think the lateral was what decided the game. I think the Chargers just not being undisciplined was what cost them the game, because how do you accumulate 60 yards in penalties and cause 3 turnovers? Now, in the defense of the Chargers defense, they held the Panthers to only 3 points in the second half, which is downright impressive. But where was that in the first half? The Chargers need to play a full 4 quarters. They can't just play the first half or 3 quarters and then forget about the fourth quarter. They can't just play the first half, and they can't just not play the first half and then play in the second half. It just doesn't work that way. That's not how football works. No. I'm sorry, but it just doesn't. So now, and this would have been a great win for Justin Herbert, because that would have boosted his confidence going forward. Unfortunately, that is not the case, and the Chargers are 1-2, as they now have a very tough 2-game stretch. Their next game is at Tampa Bay against Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. Now, the saving grace for the Chargers against the Bucs is that the Bucs will not have 2 of their talented players, 2 of their star offensive players, being Chris Godwin, who I believe he has I want to say it's an a concussion or an ankle injury, and Leonard Fournette, who is their running back, who is the running back of the Bucs, who is now he's out with an ankle injury. So Godwin has a hamstring injury. So yeah, Chris Godwin is out with hamstring. Leonard Fournette is out with an ankle, and that's 2 good key pieces for that are out for the Bucs, which kind of gives the Chargers a little saving grace. But with how many injuries the defense has suffered, with Chris Harris, Melvin Ingram, Justin Jones, Tranquil, Derwin James, and then their offensive line is not looking too good, with Trey Turner being out and Brian Bulaga being out. The Chargers, the deck is stacked against the Chargers. Like, and Joey Bosa cannot carry that defense forever. Like, he needs help. Like, Jerry Tillery has been great for the Chargers this season, and I personally think that he's not having a sophomore slump, which is good. The Chargers still have Casey Hayward, which is their other cornerback, who is one of the top 10 corners in the league, in my opinion. So the Chargers defense really needs to step up, because Tom Brady has a lot of good weapons offensively. He has a lot of good targets, such as Mike Evans, who had 2 touchdowns, even though they were accounted for only a whopping 3 yards. He had 3 yards last week, which kind of makes me wonder why. Maybe he went to Godwin too much. And then O.J. Howard and Rob Gronkowski are playing tight end. Those are two other talented receivers for the two talented tight ends for the Chargers, or for the Bucs. So it's just going to be tough. And then Ronald Jones is going to be picking up the slack at running back, and then Scott Miller is also another good receiver. He actually he leads the team in receiving yards with 167. While the Chargers, on the other hand, they really need to get it going. Like, Herbert has done well. Like, it's not that he's playing bad. It's just that he's just been at the wrong place at the wrong time. Like, he got sacked last week, and then he lost a fumble. And then he also threw a pick, which didn't help matters as well, I think. And this also accounts to the Chargers' offensive line woes, because Mike Pouncey is out with a sore hip. He's out for the season with a sore hip. Then Bulaga and Trey Turner are out as well. So it's just going to be tough for the Chargers. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if the Bucs beat the Chargers. And also, the Chargers have had rotten luck against Tom Brady. Like, and Marcus does make a good point in the chat room. He says he's a rookie, and I agree. I can't pin this all on Justin Herbert, because he's a rookie, and it's like we can't expect I can't pin it to him, and I'm not gonna beat up on him, but eventually he is gonna get it together. Like, if the Chargers do win on Sunday, which, boy howdy, that would be a huge upset, because Tom Brady is almost twice his age, then this would be a huge confidence booster for Justin Herbert. That would be 2020 in a nutshell. The Chargers beating a Tom Brady-like team. But the thing about the Chargers is they can't run zone defense. Tom Brady eats zone defense for breakfast. So, yeah, I think that the Chargers, that's thing number one. Thing number one is they can't run zone defense against Tom Brady, because they ran zone defense against the Patriots in the divisional round a couple of years ago, and that wound up getting them spanked. So, yeah. They can't run zone defense. They gotta play a full 4 quarters. They have to apply pressure, and they basically have to get 6. They can't afford to just get 3. And Marcus says in the chat room, Peyton Manning threw 20 interceptions as a rookie. Herbert is going to make mistakes. I agree. And again, I totally agree with you, Marcus. Like, I don't think anyone should be blaming Herbert at all. When the poor guy got hurt his leg in the Panthers game, but he was able to come back. So God bless that man. Like, that dude is going to eventually get his bearings in order. And hopefully we do see the Chargers pulling an upset against Tom Brady. But I don't think the Chargers have beaten a Tom Brady-like team since ever. I know they whiffed a lot against the Patriots. The only time they beat the Patriots was when I think Matt Castle was quarterback, because Tom Brady hurt his ACL, and that was a punch to the gut right there. And I think that was the year that the Chargers were the number 1 seed and the Patriots missed the playoffs. That right there was 2020 right there. 2020 before 2020 was ever popular. So, yeah, and I totally agree. I totally can see Herbert getting a few wins soon. And her mistakes are definitely going to be are definitely a part of the game, especially as a rookie. So I don't disagree with Marcus in the slightest right there saying that about Herbert. I think Herbert just has to live and learn. He's got to go with the flow. And hopefully he doesn't turn out to be another Ryan Leaf. But I'm already liking what Herbert's bringing. Like, the fact that he had to go from the 1-yard line and he almost led the Chargers to victory is so friggin' astounding. It just makes you wonder, if the Chargers didn't get that illegal formation on defense, could Badgley have won the game, and could Justin Herbert have been the hero? A lot of questions that'll never ever be answered. Gosh darn it. Gosh darn it, indeed. Alright, so enough about the Chargers. Now let's go on to the Rams. The Rams took an L to the Bills, losing 35-32, but this was quite the unusual loss. It's very interesting for me to say unusual, because the Rams were actually down 28-3, and then at that point, I was like, oh, it's over. The Rams are getting rickrolled. They don't have an answer for Josh Allen. This one's over. But then something lit up in the Rams. The Rams finally got together. They scored 29 unanswered points. They took a 32-28 lead, and it looked like the Rams were actually going to make a comeback. But then the Bills marched down the field, and then it was 4th and 9, and it looked like the Rams had gotten the stop, but unfortunately, the Rams got called for pass interference. At first, I couldn't see where the pass interference was, and it's like, oh, because I think the defender grabbed a hold of the Bills receiver, and it was sold just enough to have it be called pass interference. It's just like when it's just like when AJ Green got called for pass interference. He did just enough to get called for pass interference, which it's a bummer because that would have been such a great comeback victory, especially on the road. I didn't expect the Rams to win, honestly, though, considering the Bills are so dang improved. Like, Josh Allen is for real the real deal, and I was super repetitive when I said for real the real deal. But that's just how real Josh Allen is. So it was a tough loss for the Rams, but it wasn't the PI call. It also doesn't help when you don't fall behind 25 points to the Bills. And funny story is that my brother and I were actually going up to Los Angeles for a birthday party, and then I saw on my phone that the Rams were making a comeback, and my brother actually we were both in the car, and he turned it past the Rams game, and I'm like, hey, the Rams are making a comeback, and he's like, wait, the Rams are still playing? I thought that was a post-game show, and I'm like, no. And then I thought to myself, isn't he supposed to be a Rams fan? But he turned it back in a heartbeat, so it was just a little bit of a funny moment, but he is still a Rams fan. He is cheering for the Rams, even though they disappointed. I wouldn't call it a disappointment, because the fact that they even got that in that position was quite astounding. Like, it looked like the Rams were doing their Super Bowl 51 impersonation of the New England Patriots. So that's still impressive stuff. It's just all about actually not allowing the Bills to march down the field. But Aaron Donald was spectacular, and Jared Goff finally got it together. And then C.J. Henderson was, was it Darrell Henderson was phenomenal at running back, and he's going to be getting a lot of touches because Cam Akers is out. And then Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods were both phenomenal at wide receiver. And even Van Jefferson got in the mix, as well as Josh Reynolds. So I think the Rams just had themselves one of the more forgettable games. And Sean McVay said it best. Like, he was disappointed that they lost, and the fact that the outcome that they had was something they didn't want to see. But they know they can hang with anybody so long as they play their game. So unlike the Chargers, the Rams have a good 2-game stretch going forward. Their next 2 games, well, this week, the Rams play the New York Giants, and they're favored by 13 points. Now, I could definitely see the Rams trouncing the Giants. If they don't win, if they don't beat the Giants, who don't have Saquon Barkley, and they have Daniel Jones, then the Rams should be in a state of concern. Now, next week, the Rams also play the Washington football team, and they're favored by 9.5 points already. So, it's looking pretty up for the Rams going forward. Like, the fact that not a whole lot of people expected them to do great things this year, and they already got a good, impressive victory over the Cowboys, even though it kind of was a little controversial. And they also got a solid road victory against the Eagles, and the fact that they almost came back to beat the Bills is quite amazing. It's just all about putting together the pieces and not falling behind by 25 points. But I just don't see how the Rams lose to the Giants. The only way the Rams get beaten is if they beat themselves. Like, the Giants are the Giants. They're the derp. They're basically a derp. And the same can be said for the Washington football team. So, the Chargers, on the other hand, have a tough 2-game stretch. They play the Bucks this week. And then next week, they play on Monday Night Football against the New Orleans Saints. Now, the Saints have been struggling just as much as the Chargers. But to me, I kind of find the Saints struggling to be concerning, just because the Saints pride themselves with having high expectations, with players like Alvin Kamara, Drew Brees, Michael Thomas, who's out, Emmanuel Sanders, Marshawn Lattimore. I want to say his name was Marcus Williams. I'm not entirely sure about that, but you get what I'm trying to say, that the Saints being struggling is a little bit more concerning than ever. So we'll have to see. We'll see how it goes for them. But Marcus Davenport, not Marcus Williams. I think I'm thinking of the NBA player, but yeah, but no Marshawn Lattimore and no Marcus Davenport, and Jared Cook is also out too. So we'll see how the injury report for that week turns out, because Chargers need as much healthy bodies as possible if they want to beat the Saints. But before they can get to the Saints, they got to get through Tampa Bay, and that's already a challenge on its own. So I predict for the Rams, I predict them to win, let's say 42-13. Sorry, Giants fans. And then for the Chargers, I predict the Bucks to beat the Chargers. Let's go 24-17. I say it's close, but the Chargers are probably going to lose by one score or less. So, I mean, I could see it being competitive. But Bosa is not Superman with a big fat S on his chest. Like, Bosa cannot do everything. Otherwise, he'd be getting paid a whole lot more money than the Chargers are paying for right now. So that's kind of my picks for the NFL teams. The Rams win, the Chargers lose. Yeah, it's just a tough 2-game stretch, and losing to the Panthers doesn't really help matters as well. It's games like the Panthers where you need a win, and losing games like that to not so talented teams could be the difference between missing the playoffs and making the playoffs. So we'll see how it goes going forward. But overall, I expect a decent game between the rookie and the GOAT. So we'll see. But that's going to pretty much wrap it up for the NFL portion. We have a few more minutes left before I send you all on your way. And we're actually going to get into the MLS, because the WNBA doesn't have any SoCal teams because it's between the Seattle Storm. I almost said Seattle Sonics. The Seattle Storm and the Las Vegas Aces. So yeah, no LA teams right there. And then I already talked about the MLB, the NBA, and the NFL. So all we have is the MLS, and I kind of was disappointed in both LAFC and the Galaxy. Let's start with the Galaxy. Oh boy. The Galaxy really disappointed me, but it was kind of to be expected. The Seattle Sounders whooped that Galaxy booty 3-1, and now the Galaxy are on a 4-game winless streak and a 3-game losing streak. They have not won a game since winning El Tráfico 3.0. So this is very concerning for the Galaxy. If you want better soccer talk than me, then check out the Soccer Scoreboard Show at 2:30 p.m. Pacific Time, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time, with the new host, Andrew Hagenbaugh. So definitely do check that out. Andrew does a great job talking about soccer, all things soccer. But anyway, back to the Galaxy. I am slightly concerned about the Galaxy not having won a game in 4 games. And they've lost 3 in a row, and they're in second to last place, which is very, very concerning. The Galaxy's next game is Saturday, and they're playing the bottom of the barrel in San Jose, which I hope the Galaxy can win, because San Jose has arguably the worst defense. Except San Jose's last game was a big fat W over LAFC, which is a good segue to go into. LAFC lost to the worst team in the Western Conference. How are you going to lose to the worst team in the West? What are you doing, LAFC? I may not be the biggest soccer expert, but I know LAFC is so much better than San Jose. Like, I know they don't have Carlos Vela because he's still out, but still, like, come on now. Like, LAFC needs as many wins as possible to try to still climb up that Western Conference. As Mark Anthony Kaye accounted for LAFC's only goal against the Quakes. LAFC also beat Vancouver last Wednesday 6-0. They got a lot of goals from Dejan Jakovic, Bradley Wright-Phillips, Ranko Veselinovic, Diego Rossi, and Andy Rose. They got 2 goals from Andy Wright-Phillips, so Vancouver basically got trounced. And I think that was the biggest... I want to say LAFC had that win over Vancouver was the most one-sided game ever, as, yes it is, LAFC produces a record-setting 6-0 rout over Vancouver, and it was basically an MLS record for the quickest 4 and 5 goals in league history. In 14 minutes, LAFC had built a 4-0 lead, and through 33 minutes, they had built a 5-0 lead. If I didn't know better, I would have said that this might have been the final score right there, but I guess LAFC was wise to call off the Dogs, but that's just crazy, dude. Like, you score 5 goals in 1/2. Like, if you're Vancouver, you should have just called the game right there. Because being down 3-0 is bad enough, but 5-0? Ugh. Ooh, boy. I just don't understand why LAFC lost to San Jose. Like, they failed to score a goal in the second half, and in the latter of the game, the 80th minute, San Jose scored, and then in stoppage time, San Jose scored again. So I don't know, man. Like, that was pretty disappointing on LAFC's part. So what can I say except in the famous words of Al Michaels, that's overwhelming. Now that's overwhelming. That was a bad Al Michaels voice, but still, he probably does it better. But I digress. So this week, LAFC plays Salt Lake on Sunday, while the Galaxy, like I said, play San Jose on Saturday. I swear, if the Galaxy don't win that game, I will be disappointed. Like, I don't know what to say. Like, I think LAFC and the Galaxy and the whole MLS are in stage 3 of their return, because they had stage 1 in the MLS's back tournament. Then they had stage 2, which they just completed, and I think they're in stage 3. Yeah, they had a couple games in August, and then the rest of the games in September. So I think October and November is stage 3. I'm not the biggest MLS expert, but I do know that LAFC always has a great team. In the regular season, of course. When it comes to the postseason, different story. Galaxy fans. You Galaxy fans have that's the only thing that's going for them. But it looks like the Galaxy are back to regressing, sadly. So we'll see. But looking at the table or the standings in the Western Conference, LAFC is number 7 at 5 wins, 3 draws, and 6 losses, while the LA Galaxy are at 4 wins, 3 draws, and 6 losses, which I can't really say too much about that, but the Galaxy are they're going the wrong way. They got to go the other way. But again, they faced the Seattle Sounders. Like, Seattle is the best team in the Western Conference for a reason. So, yeah. But hopefully the LFC and the Galaxy can get it together. And I think that's going to do it for today's show of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. It wasn't really... one last thing to wrap up is that the Pac-12, I think, is going to be announcing its football schedule this weekend. So you'll probably be hearing more about USC and UCLA when it comes to Twitter. And I can't wait because I'm real excited for Pac-12 football to be happening this year, because we all thought it was going to happen in the spring, which that would have been a bad thing. But considering they wouldn't have been able to partake in the bowl games and the championship, but now they may have a chance. The only problem is for the Pac-12 is that they'll only be playing 7 conference games, and then you have the Pac-12 championship, and that might not be able to be enough to get you into the national championship, considering all these other teams are playing a lot more games than them. I think they're playing like 10 or 11 or 12. I'm not entirely sure, but 7 games might not be enough, so we'll see how it goes. But that is going to wrap it up for the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. I definitely appreciate everyone tuning in, and we have more shows on the way. Like, iSports Radio continues to grow. Like I said, the Soccer Scoreboard Show is back. We have a New York show on the way, which is definitely going to be a whole lot of fun. I can't wait for that. And we have ourselves Ring Rambling Radio. Try saying that 5 times fast. That's going to be returning after a hiatus. And all of our other shows are doing well as well. Like Fast Break, that did well. That's continuing to go strong. We have the Chi-Town Weekly with Adam Karnick, who was kind enough to tune into the chat room. We have Let's Whine About Sports making its return. Then we have Unfiltered Truth, always going strong on StreamYard and Facebook and Mix and Periscope. I was blanking on. I almost said Mixler, but that wasn't right. And sorry if you all heard a little bump. That was my mic being bumped. And then we have Set Points, my show dedicated to volleyball, going strong. I just completed my 1-year anniversary. We have Marcus Lowe's great show going on still with Gloves Off. We have the Kansas City Shuffle going strong from Dave Friedman and Ryan Pesquire Davis. And then we have 3 and Out with a different format with Larry B still going strong. We have the Extra Mile. Then we have this show still going strong. We have the Neutral Zone, which will be on in 1 hour and 40 or 50 minutes. They'll be on 1 hour 50 minutes with Robert Kavanaugh, and then rounding up the week is Down in H-Town with Corey Walker, which is a Houston show, which is also still going strong. So those are your shows that are still going on, and we have plenty more on the way. Like, iSports Radio continues to grow. Definitely do check out our online shop, and definitely do purchase yourself an iSports Radio t-shirt or tank top or sweater for the winter, or a cap. We have curve build and straight build. Also, definitely do subscribe to all of iSports Radio through Apple Podcasts, YouTube, iHeartRadio, any sort of platform. And also follow iSports Radio on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Instagram as well. And definitely check out the iSports Radio website, which you could also sign up for our weekly newsletter, which you'll also be finding out about weekly posts about certain sports from some of our podcasters. And we also have our past guests and recent guests and hopefully our future guests for some shows. And then we also have our IE Sports Radio Hall of Fame that you can definitely check out, full of dedicated sports fans. And that's pretty much it. I think I've gotten all of the housekeeping done. And also keep an eye out for the live calls. Last night I called the Brewers-Dodgers game. It was great. I am proud to have called all of Clayton Kershaw's strikeouts, which was all 13 of them. I was going to finish the whole game, and then unfortunately I couldn't go past 3 hours, which made me sad face, but that's okay. So without any further delay, let's get on out of here, because I got to wrap up my packing and head on to Ventura with my brother. You dig? So thank you all for tuning in to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Thank you to Marcus Losgray and Adam Karnick for joining me in the chat room. Thank you to those listening on the replay. Thank you to those that are tuning in live. I definitely appreciate it. The show is certainly not going anywhere, no matter who is playing or who is not playing. So definitely keep tuning in. You can also follow the SoCal Supreme Sports Show on Twitter at SoCal Show IESR. And you can also follow me on Twitter at Teran Rodriguez1. My Twitter and the SoCal Supreme Sports Show's Twitter is in the description if you're on YouTube or on Spreaker. So definitely keep an eye on that. So yeah, that's pretty much going to wrap it up for the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. For everyone here at IE Sports Radio, this is Teran Rodriguez signing off. In 1 hour and 45 minutes, the Neutral Zone will be going live with Robert Kavanaugh. But until then, have a great rest of the weekend, and remember, SoCal is for Showtown. Good night, everybody.